Hey guys, what's up? It's your boy T for 365 Horror, and this is a horror movie discovery channel. I am just here to put as many horror movies on your watch list as possible, and we're going to be getting into some brand new horror streaming releases for the week of February 9th, plus getting into some quick trailer reactions. So let's get into it right now. Now we are going to get into the video, but before we do, I've got to remind you guys to please like and subscribe. And we are the champions. Oh man, what a great weekend. What a good football game. I am so happy the Seahawks, like honestly, at the beginning of the season, I didn't even really know how the team was going to look. So to be winning the Super Bowl by the end of it is awesome. And yeah, man, it was just a great week. I hope you guys enjoyed the game. If you watched it, I mean, if you don't care about sports, then who cares? I did end up watching the Bad Bunny halftime show because I don't really change the channel, like regardless of what's on there, and it was pretty good too, but nothing like the game. I know a lot of people think that the game was boring and everything, but again, I could be biased, but I watched a defensive masterpiece and loved every minute of Drake May just really not even being able to kind of hang. So yeah, man, it was an awesome game, awesome weekend, awesome time. But let's get right into it. I've got a pretty good week for you guys, just like last week was actually pretty good, and I did watch a couple of movies, so let me lose this stuff and we'll get right into it. Now we're going to get into some of the movies I've watched, and the first movie I watched this week was The Arborist, and this movie was okay. It was a pretty good little mystery. It was a little bit of a slow burn. I had hoped that it was going to have a little bit like kind of more creeps and scares to it, but it just didn't have as many as I liked or wanted. This film really did try to go for some good creeps and scares, but the only problem with it is that overall it just really, again, it just didn't really do enough. And although it had a pretty good mystery with good revelations, I just think that the movie is decent, worth the watch if you want more of like kind of a slow burn vibe, but other than that, it was just okay. And then the next movie I watched this week was We Bury the Dead, and I thought that this was actually a pretty good movie. It had a really good kind of zombie apocalypse setting. The zombies were creepy. And as they got closer and closer to kind of the bomb site, the apocalyptic feel, it got like a lot more thick and darker. Just even some of the design choices they decided to go with the movie, like the fact that they're doing this body retrieval, it keeps the movie like good and engaging and moving because you kind of see these different instances where people have kind of been under fire from just a huge catastrophe, and it was just really good in that respect. I also really liked, because I do like apocalyptic movies and just like end of the world type stuff, I thought the movie had a really good disaster scale. And again, the zombies were creepy and it had some really good disturbing moments. So personally, I think We Bury the Dead is worth the watch. And then the last movie I watched this week was The Morrigan, and I thought, again, this was another movie that was just okay. It was definitely a B-movie feel, but the acting wasn't the worst. I did like the change that was going on screen, like the girl kind of changes as she gets, possessed by the Morrigan. And in the beginning, it was really good, but by the end, the change just does get a little bit hokey. If you do like just like a pure horror movie with like demons flying, it's okay. But overall, even though I liked the ending, I just didn't think the movie did enough. And I just think the movie is watchable. I wouldn't suggest really paying anything for this film. I would just watch it if you kind of get the chance. But even then, just not totally worth it. But let's get into some new films. The first movie we're going to take a look at this week is a comedy fantasy horror named Honey Bunch. And this movie is available on Shudder and AMC+. When Diana wakes from a coma with memory loss, she and her husband seek experimental treatments at a remote facility. As the procedures intensify, their marriage is put to the test, and Diana begins to question her husband's true motives. It is directed by Dusty Mancinelli and Madeline Sims-Fewer. Okay, so after watching the trailer for Honey Bunch, this looks like a genuinely kind of interesting, if not a little bit weird horror. So right off the bat, I thought the aesthetic and atmosphere, it just really was dark and grabbed you. There's almost this off-kilter, uneasy vibe to the whole trailer, and it really feels like it could morph into like a really proper mind bender. Now, yeah, one of the things you do have to be aware of with this one is that it does look weird. Now, not quite like Beau is Afraid is weird, and for me, that's a little bit of a good thing. Because I always felt like when a film gets a little bit too weird, it always crosses this line from unsettling to just getting to be a little bit zany. And you know me, I'm not really a fan of like super zany, but even though this was weird, I didn't feel that here. Mix in these torturous, mind-altering treatments and this, you know, creepy kind of paranoia, and a couple of solid, like, unsettling creeps, and I feel like this one could be a sleeper hit. Now, as long as Honey Bunch doesn't get weird just for the sake of it, I'm in. So I think this one's going to get a regular spot on my watch list.
What if I have permanent brain damage?
Then I'll take care of you.
Even if I'm a vegetable?
Especially if you're a vegetable. I love you.
Pull! Come on then! Pull! Faster!
Dad?
Oh, it's all right.
Next movie we're going to take a look at is a straight horror named Bad Voodoo. And this movie is available on Google Play, Apple TV, and Prime Video.
Sometimes death is a new beginning.
Escaped convicts face voodoo horrors after taking Abigail hostage in her mystery house. As a voodoo priest's powers emerge, they struggle against the dark forces for survival. It is directed by Andrew Adler and Andre Hepburn. Okay, so after watching the trailer for Bad Voodoo, this one looks like a subpar to meh kind of black magic voodoo horror. Now, the one thing that really surprised me is that I feel like we don't really see enough kind of voodoo and black magic in horror movies these days. And I'm not talking about just like a surface level kind of black magic ritual. I'm talking about like voodoo dolls and rituals and all of that kind of, you know, deeper kind of voodoo trappings. So I did appreciate that kind of more authentic voodoo angle. Now, that being said, this one definitely has a B-movie feel, but the acting wasn't the worst. Now, one of the things that really did catch my attention with this one is that it does look like it could be kind of eventful. And it looks like they're really kind of leaning into this revenge voodoo angle. So we could get some, you know, decent creeps and some fun voodoo deaths. Still, overall, I feel like Bad Voodoo just feels a little bit subpar. So this one's getting a regular to lower spot on my watch list.
There's no bigger tragedy than to lose a child. You must atone and take accountability for your actions. Abigail, it's the only way you'll be at peace.
Next movie we're going to look at is a straight horror named Primate. And this movie is available on Google Play, Apple TV, and Prime Video.
He found me.
A group of friends' tropical vacation turns into a terrifying primal tale of horror and survival. It is directed by Johannes Roberts. Okay, so after watching the trailer for Primate, this one looks like a decent to good animal horror. The first thing that grabs me with this one right away is the monkey Ben, because I mean, he just looks brutal and straight up menacing. Now, while me and my girl were watching the trailer, you could almost feel the tension building with this one. And it looks like the filmmakers know how to really squeeze the suspense out of this setup. And also add in that you guys know me, I'm always a sucker for that good kind of circle of friends vibe, because you know what that means. Lots of chaos and plenty of victims. Now, overall, I think Primate looks solid. Nothing really flashy, but just some good, brutal fun. So I think this one's going to get a normal to just maybe a little bit of a higher priority on my watch list.
Ben? Did something bite him?
Next movie we're going to take a look at is a horror mystery thriller named Night Patrol. And this movie is available on Google Play, Apple TV, and Prime Video. An LA cop discovers a local task force is hiding a secret that puts the residents of his childhood neighborhood In Danger. It is directed by Ryan Prowse. Okay, so after watching the trailer for Night Patrol, this one looks like it could be a decent vampire horror. Now, right off the bat, I really like the premise for this one here because it really feels different, and that alone gets my attention. And I really like the kind of whole like urban hood vibe, even though a setup of like LA cops harassing black people does feel just a little bit on the nose. Plus, I'm really interested in the cast on this one because you've got like these rapper actors like Flying Lotus and Freddie Gibbs. Plus, you got Justin Long, and the role he kind of plays in this one, it makes me wonder, like, are we actually going to see for once like terrible things not happen to this guy in a horror movie? I gotta be honest, I'm not holding my breath. Now, I do wish that it packed in just a couple more scares, and I do also wish that we saw a little bit more kind of vampire gore in the trailer, but overall, I do think that this one looks good and entertaining, so Night Patrol is going to get a regular spot on my watch list.
When I was a kid, all I wanted to do was be a cop. I just thought it was the coolest thing. We're portrayed differently now. We're seen in a very negative light. Most of us are good. But there are a few bad apples out there.
Turn around and face the other way.
Next movie we're going to take a look at is a straight horror named The Haunted Forest. And this movie is available on Google Play, Apple TV, and Prime Video.
Who would have thought? Death sells.
A teen takes a job as a scare actor at a haunted forest attraction. After bonding with his eccentric co-workers, a tragic death forces him to reconsider his dark interests. It is directed by Keith Boynton. Okay, so after watching the trailer for The Haunted Forest, this one looks like a decent slasher. Now, this is another one where the premise actually intrigued me because running a haunted house where there's a real killer inside or someone's killing people inside the haunted house, that's not exactly a new angle, but the angle of the scare actors in it not really knowing what they signed up for and maybe being like drawn in or tricked into committing some of these crimes, that's interesting. And just with the whole setup of them being these scare actors and having this camaraderie, I know we're going to get a strong Circle of Friends vibe, and you know what that means, more bodies. Now, my only hesitation going into this one is I didn't feel like there was enough kind of creative kills in the trailer. And just for a slasher, at least for me, that matters. Overall, though, I think The Haunted Forest looks okay. I don't think it's anything wild, but I don't think it's a complete write-off either. So I think this one's going to get a regular spot on my watch list.
I'm sorry, Zach. Did we wake you?
You've always been a space case, but this is getting ridiculous. Where's your head at? What's going on?
It's this haunted forest thing. You know that I've been doing on the weekends? I mean, this place is amazing. It's like a whole carnival of death.
And that's a good thing.
Next movie we're going to take a look at is a drama horror romance named Nuptials. And this movie is available on Google Play and Prime Video.
Young love.
A young couple on their honeymoon is forced to experience each other's darkest desires. As the lines between reality and sanity blur, a sinister presence keeps them trapped in their bridal suite and tries to seduce them towards unbearable truths and unthinkable violence. It is directed by Sean Braun. Okay, so after watching the trailer for Nuptials, this one looks like an interesting, almost kind of character-driven horror. Now, I really like the premise here because it feels like a deep drama. Like you have these characters that are newly married and they're kind of exploring each other's darkest desires and not really sure exactly how far they're going to go. And it looks like it leads to some like really kind of awkward, introspective character interactions. And I love that kind of drama angle, and I'm not talking about subgenre drama. I'm talking about like catty between character drama. And I always love these movies where characters get like blindsided by their partner's past. It just feels kind of unsettling, or even worse, like their true thoughts, especially if they're dark. I just think when it's done right, it can be unsettling in a very real way. One of the biggest challenges with this one, though, is that the acting, the characters, they really have to sell it. And I wish I got more of a sense that they were going to do a good job selling it from the trailer. So overall, even though I think Nuptials looks really interesting, I am going to remain just a little bit cautious. And this one's only going to get a regular to maybe just a little bit of a lower spot on my watch list.
Welcome to the bridal suite. We want you to have so much fun over the stay of your wedding and honeymoon that a part of you will never want to leave this exquisite spot.
Never want to leave? What is this?
You'll see.
Well, guys, that's going to do it for another episode of brand new releases for you guys to watch and stream. I hope you like this content, and if you did find a couple of gems for your watch list, please leave me a like and subscribe. Now, if I had to make a couple of picks this week, the first movie I'm going to pick is Primate, because I think it just looks like super brutal. I have a feeling that we're going to get some really good like animal gore and kills. I think Ben looks menacing and like mean and just like creepy in some parts, and it really has this almost like, I know I'm going to date myself with a really old movie, but it almost has this Cujo feel where it's like the dog is just sitting there and they're kind of like trapped in a room, or in this they're trapped in a pool almost, and they're just trying to escape with the monkey just kind of roving around and being crazy. So I don't know, I think that movie's going to have some really good tension, some good animal kills, and that's my first pick of the week. And for my second pick of the week, I'm going to do a little bit of my famous double, and the first movie I'm really going to pick is Night Patrol, because again, I just like the actors in it. I do want to see how these rapper actors always kind of turn out. Sometimes they're good actors, sometimes they suck, so that'll be kind of interesting to see. I love Justin Long in horror movies. Again, bad things always happen to him, so I'm expecting by the end of this movie this like just something horrible to happen to this guy, which I always enjoy seeing. And it's just an interesting kind of vampire angle. It's almost like they like create this militia and just like terrorize like neighborhoods in the night as vampires. It just was a kind of different angle that I thought was interesting. And the second part of my two-part pick is going to be Honey Bunch, because I just think it looks like really weird, and like I said, it could have almost that kind of weird angle where you're just like, what am I watching? But it's like really compelling. But I'm not 100% sure, which is why I didn't want to like make it my sole pick. It'll be like one of those, I don't turn off movies halfway through because I watch them for the channel now, but it might be one of those movies that I'll regret turning on when I could have watched Night Patrol. So I'll probably watch Night Patrol first, and then Honey Bunch will be my third movie of the week. Well, guys, that's going to do it for me for real this time, as I've got a ton of movies to watch. If you've made it this far into the video, thank you. I appreciate you. I hope you guys have been taking care of yourselves. Seahawks are the Super Bowl world champions, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.
What's up?